So what's the Catholic claim to the Roman legacy? Catholic claim is actually really interesting, and I think it constitutes what you can call the argument of the soul. The Roman Empire falls in the east in 1453 to the Ottomans, but about 1,000 years earlier, it actually falls in the west to invading Gothic tribes. This starts a long period of political fragmentation and instability in the West that really won't be stopped until power reconsolidates in the medieval era. So in the midst of all this chaos, what happens to the Roman legacy? This is where the Catholic Church steps in. The Church will work to preserve Roman culture through the maintenance of Latin as the liturgical language of the Church, as well as the study and retention of Roman texts and legal practices. The administration of the Church is also reflective of a Roman hierarchical structure where you'd have larger areas subdivided into dioceses, which would then self-administer. Also, the continuation of the Roman papacy goes all the way back to St. Peter. But if you really think about it, having a high priest in Rome goes all the way back to the founding of the Roman kingdom, which precedes both the empire and the republic. This title is called the Pontifex Maximus. It's probably called the Pope's the Pontiff today. The Pontifex Maximus is the high priest in Rome, regardless of if it was pagan or Christian. After the fall of the empire, the title Pontifex Maximus is occasionally used by popes and then becomes an official title in the 15th century. The Roman Pope was also able to give legitimacy to local rulers such as Charlemagne, therefore transferring his divine right onto local rulers so they could effectively govern their subjects with an air of legitimacy. And lastly, and this is probably the greatest point, is that this is the argument of the soul, is the Catholic Church exemplifies this idea of Roman universalism. Catholic actually just means universal. And what we mean to say here is that the empire existed as a vast multi-ethnic state sprawling from, the far reaches of Britain all the way to modern day Syria, across North Africa, and all of Eastern Europe. And in this vast empire, different peoples were aggregated based on their allegiance to the state and the state religion. The church would kind of preserve this ideal where people have, in far-flung reaches of the empire or former empire, would have an agreed upon understanding of each other based on a moral and ethical guideline, and also believe in the true God. And this is an idea that's initially explored by St. Augustine. Again, he's not making this argument as a successor to Rome, but just saying that the city of God has more legitimacy than the city of man ever did. The arguments against this are as follows, and the leading one is definitely that the Eastern Roman Empire goes on to keep existing for 1,000 years, which is hard to say that a successor could come before the state falls by a millennia, but I digress. Also, the Catholic Church exhibits its power indirectly, meaning its soft power. It doesn't have the backing of a true military that's loyal only to the church. And this is very non-Roman. The classic Roman idea is of the soldier farmer, not the priest farmer. And this goes all the way back to the original founding of Rome by Romulus, who was a general, not a priest. And that doesn't mean that this is weak. The soft power is capable of incredible things, raising huge armies that go on to fight the Crusades, and also participating greatly in the colonization of the New World, as well as establishing a massive trading network across the Indian Ocean, and even taking a shot at Japan at one point. However, it's not an imperial state in the traditional sense. That concludes this little mini-series. Follow for more.